Trying to choose your FPL forwards this season? You're not alone. With premium picks like Haaland and Isak priced sky high, and budget options like João Pedro drawing massive ownership, the big question is, where should you actually spend your money? In this video, I break down 6 key forward comparisons from premium powerhouses to sneaky budget gems, and help you make the best decisions for Gameweek 1 and beyond. Why choose Haaland over Welbeck? At first glance, this might seem like an unfair comparison, but it's exactly the kind of decision we're forced to make. Do you spend the cash on a premium like Haaland and compromise in the midfield or defense? Or do you go budget up front and reinvest elsewhere? Let's be clear. Haaland is expensive, but he's expensive for a reason. Even in a season where people said he was quiet, he still delivered 22 goals. He's the focal point of the most attacking team in the league. He's on penalties, he racks up bonus points when he scores, and most importantly, he's a genuine captaincy option almost every week. So you can build a team around him. Compare that to someone like Danny Welbeck. Yes, he's $7.5 million cheaper, and that saving lets you upgrade other positions. Maybe you get an extra $8.5 million midfielder instead of the $6.5 million one. But what does Danny Welbeck really give you? He rarely plays 90 minutes, Brighton often rotates their forwards, and while Welbeck can pop up with a goal, he won't give you the explosive hauls. He's a third striker at best, the kind of player who sits on your bench and maybe covers in an injury or a blank. So when you break it down, it's not just Haaland versus Welbeck, it's really Haaland plus a cheap midfielder or defender versus Welbeck. But when Haaland hits a hat-trick and he's the most captain player in the game, going without him can destroy your run. Why go for Isak when João Pedro is cheaper and more popular? João Pedro has become the poster boy for a preseason hype. His ownership has shot up over 52%, which is staggering for a player who isn't guaranteed to start. People love a cheap forward playing for a big club, and his Club World Cup performance just adds fuel to the fire. But there's a real danger here. He might not even start in the first game of the season. Chelsea have Nkunku, Delap, and now Pedro fighting for minutes, and in a team that still hasn't fully gelled, that's a huge risk. Now compare that with Alexander Isak. Yes, he's $3 million more expensive, but he's also nailed on to start. He plays for a strong Newcastle side that creates plenty of chances. He's on penalties, he's versatile, he can play centrally or wide left, and most importantly, he scored goals. So you're paying $10.5 million for a guaranteed start, central attacking role, and penalty duties, all in a team that will challenge for Europe. With Pedro, you're hoping to get 60 minutes, and maybe Palmer allows him to take a penalty. You're paying $7.5 million for hope. With Isak, you're paying for production. Ownership can be misleading. Yes, João Pedro's high selection rate means you're safe from being left behind when he forms, but if he blanks and Isak scores, you gain huge ground on the crowd. That's where smart differentials pay off. Why pay $9 million for Watkins when Chris Wood is $1.5 million cheaper? At first glance, Chris Wood at $7.5 million might seem like a savvy enabler. He's a veteran, he's scored goals in the Premier League before, and he will get decent minutes, but let's compare that with Ollie Watkins, who's currently $9 million and only owned by around 17% of managers, despite a proven track record. Watkins is Aston Villa's main man. He really gets subbed off, he presses aggressively, and he's constantly involved in the build-up. What's more, the first 6 games are all very playable, no big 6 teams. And Watkins is a player who thrives against mid-table opposition. His role is so central to how Villa play that even when he doesn't score, he often gets bonus points. Compare that to Chris Wood. Forrest is more defensive, so even when he plays, he's more of a target man than a creator or a runner. He doesn't press like Watkins, and he won't be involved in assists in the same way. Over a 6-game stretch, Watkins might get 4 to 5 returns, and Wood might score once. You're thinking long-term with Watkins. If he stays fit, you likely won't need to transfer him out for months. With Wood, if he blanks a few games, you'll feel forced to move on from him, and those transfers add up. So the extra 1.5 million isn't just about Watkins scoring more, it's about role, reliability, and the peace of mind that comes with picking a player who actually delivers. Why consider Gyökeres over Jimenez? This one is all about momentum and opportunity. Gyökeres is Arsenal's new striker. He arrives with incredible hype and a fantastic record from Sporting, 29 goals in 33 league matches last season. He's not just a goal poacher, he presses well, links up intelligently, and is physically strong enough to handle Premier League defenders. If he locks down a starting role at Arsenal, he could be the signing of the season. Now contrast that with Raul Jimenez. Once upon a time, he was a top FPL asset, but that was years ago. Since his injury, he struggled to find form, and even at Fulham last season, he didn't look like the same player. He's now 33, he's not nailed, even if he starts. He's in a team that lost Mitrovic and hasn't replaced that firepower effectively. Fulham's creativity has dipped, and Jimenez doesn't have the pace or the confidence to thrive in a low-scoring side. Gyökeres is $2.5 million more expensive, yes, but what you're really paying for is the chance to own a striker in one of the best attacking teams in the league. Arsenal creates tons of chances. If Gyökeres nails the striker role, he's looking at 15 plus goals minimum. Plus, he'll likely benefit from bonus points due to involvement in build-up and pressing. Meanwhile, Jimenez might go the full season without hitting double figures. He's not on penalties and not a focal point anymore, and not someone who's going to get bonus points unless he scores and others don't. And even if he gets minutes, he feels like a 2-point floor player, someone you'd rotate and bench often, which leads to lost points and wasted transfers. In short, if you want someone to cover the forward slot for cheap, Jimenez might get minutes, but if you want someone who can actually change your rank, Gyökeres has the potential to be a standout asset. Why pick Bowen instead of Mateta? On paper, these two look somewhat similar. Forwards around $8 million, playing for mid-table sides, both capable of scoring goals. But in reality, their roles and values are quite different. Bowen has been West Ham's most consistent attacking outlet in the past few seasons. He's a nailed-on starter, he often plays 90 minutes, and he takes a lot of set pieces. He also tends to drift into central positions, especially if West Ham's lineup is in a more counter-attacking shape. Now take Mateta. Yes, he ended last season in great form, a purple patch under Oliver Glasner. He scored in several consecutive games and finally looked like he belonged in the Premier League. But Palace have competition up front, including new signings and players like Edward. Mateta might start in Gameweek 1, but how secure is his place long term? Bowen, meanwhile, is nailed, he's a leader in that West Ham attack, and you know what you're getting. Mateta might give you a few 10-point weeks and then vanishes for a month. So for 0.5 million more, Bowen gives you reliability, set pieces, consistency, and leadership. Mateta gives you potential and rotation risk. If you're building a squad that needs a dependable starter each week, then go with Bowen. If you already have strong options and want a wildcard striker with high upside, Mateta is a decent bench rotation pick, but not someone you should rely on week in, week out. Should you risk Havertz or play it safe with Strand Larsen? This is a classic dilemma between an unpredictable high upside player in a top team and a potentially nailed cheaper striker in a weaker team. Let's start with Havertz. At 7.5 million, he's listed as a forward, which already limits his appeal slightly. Why? Because he is not really a forward in Arteta's system. Even when he plays up top, he tends to drift into the midfield areas and do a lot of off-the-ball work that doesn't translate into FPL points. What's more is Arsenal rotates. If Havertz starts one game, there's no guarantee that he'll start the next. He could play deeper if Rice is rested, or he might get a run of starts, but you're never truly confident he'll be in the 11 each week. That uncertainty makes him hard to commit to, especially when he's not on penalties and rarely takes shots inside the box. Now compare that to Strand Larson at 6.5 million. He's not flashy, he's not being talked about much, but sometimes in FPL, being under the radar is exactly what we want. Wolves lack a nailed on number 9, and if Larson starts strong in pre-season or Gameweek 1, he could make that role his own. For $1 million less than Havertz, you might be getting a forward who plays 80 to 90 minutes regularly and leads the line. Of course, there are limitations. Wolves aren't an attacking powerhouse. You're not expecting a 15-goal season from him. But if he plays every week, chips in with the occasional goal or assist, and helps you afford a premium mid or defender, he might serve your structure better. So the choice is this. Havertz is a wild card. If he hits, he could reward early adopters. But if he gets benched or plays too deep, you'll be wasting a forward slot. Larson is safer, cheaper, and less glamorous, but if you just want a playable third forward who won't need weekly transfers, he's a solid bet. Why not just go triple budget like Solanke, Welbeck, and Wood instead of spending on Haaland or Watkins? It's a tempting idea, especially for managers who want to stack in the midfield with heavy hitters like Salah, Saka, Palmer, and Bruno. By going for 3 cheap forwards, you suddenly unlock a lot of funds to boost the rest of your team. But here's the problem. Forwards still matter in FPL, and if you ignore the position too much, they leave points on the table. All 3 of those budget forwards have flaws. Solanke was great at Bournemouth, but now at Spurs, he's average at best. Welbeck is rarely fit for a full season and tends to play fewer minutes in Brighton's rotation-heavy system. Wood is reliable in the sense that he can score the odd goal. More importantly, none of these players are captain options. None of them offer explosive potential over a 4-6 game week stretch. So what you're doing is locking in 3 spots in your starting 11 that are unlikely to deliver big returns. Now compare that with a more balanced approach. Say you go with Haaland, Watkins, and a $6.5 million forward like Strand Larson. Suddenly, you have 1 elite captaincy option, 1 consistent mid-price starter, and 1 cheap rotation piece. You still have cash for strong mids, and you've protected your team's flexibility. Budget strikers can work if you pick the right ones at the right time, but going for 3 is risky. You're betting that not only will they start, but that they'll outperform their price by enough to make your sacrifice in premium players worthwhile. To wrap up this forward comparison, the biggest takeaway is that there's no single right approach. It's all about balance, team structure, and the kind of manager you want to be this season. Premium forwards like Haaland and Isak offer explosive, captainable returns and are proven in Premier League. But they eat up a huge chunk of your budget, forcing compromises elsewhere. Cheaper options like Welbeck, Wood, or even Jimenez free up funds for a stacked midfield or stronger defenses, but they come with rotation risk and lower ceilings. Then you've got the mid-priced sweet spot. Players like Watkins, João Pedro, and Bowen, who can deliver consistent points without breaking the bank, bridging the gap between explosive premiums and risky budget picks. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.